All right, we're live. See, I don't do any fancy schmancy intro like you guys do.
Well, we got how we are. We got to fluff it up a little bit. I mean, because we're not as energetic and fun as you are, Karen. So we have to add a little fluff to keep our
hence
viewers
why,
happy.
hence why I'm always talking about like I don't use equipment. This is why, guys. I don't know what to do with it. So I just, you know what? We're just gonna go live and we're gonna end. Bye, guys. Although I did save the link, so when you start talking about the documentary, I can try to attempt to do a banner. I've been learning about this,
Hey,
so I'm going to
all
attempt
right.
to do the banner. But really quick,
Yeah.
hi, everybody. I have two very awesome men with me tonight. Matt Sorge from SRS Paranormal, and a newbie on my show. We have Jay Prather, 8 IDC devices, and everybody probably knows who they are, but I would like them to introduce themselves. So you guys, go ahead. It's all you.
I'll go real quick. I'm Matthew Sorge. I'm founder of SRS Paranormal. I've been investigating the paranormal for about 14 years, and I just really enjoy it. I have a really unique team of people, and we have a lot of fun doing it. I'm nowhere near as interesting as Jay, so I will let Jay dazzle you with his awesomeness.
I'm J.W. Prather with IDC Devices. I build a lot of different paranormal equipment. Mainly, I delve into ITC. And tonight, we were going to be talking about my equipment and what we're going to be doing at Randolph. So I wanted to give some explanations about why what we're doing at Randolph is so different than what's been done elsewhere in the field. We're going to be doing some investigation techniques and experiments that, well, one of them we're going to be doing is I've only done it one other location, and the system is still an ongoing process, but it wires the entire investigation site together into one place for live EVPs, what's referred to as spirit box sessions. I don't necessarily call my devices spirit boxes. A spirit box runs usually in linear fashion and scans around 200 frequencies. Mine runs in a random fashion and will scan anywhere from 2,000 frequencies to 10,980 frequencies. So I'm well outside the F-film band, looking for direct radio voices and the such. Most of my devices also come with a microphone built in and what I call the live EVP assist circuit, which allows you to turn the tuner off and do live EVP sessions, or you can turn the tuner on and do combination live EVP sessions with the spirit box. Several people that use my devices in the field have had a lot of luck with it. Several teams. It's even been seen on a few TV shows where it shows that these live EVPs are coming through in real time and you can hear them. The system that you see sitting here around me and back here on the floor is the system I'm going to be using at Randolph. And like I say, it will all be hardwired. There will be 6 locations that we'll be monitoring with cameras as well. The entire system all comes back to your computer, and I'm going to show that in a few minutes. Comes back to your computer, and you're analyzing in real time what is going on the entire investigation site. So I'm going to show that in a few minutes. I'm going to bring it up, show you what the satellites look like. You have a base unit, satellites. This is all being filmed. At the same time that you're recording the audio, you're filming it as well so that you can debunk if anybody was in the area, because you're looking for live EVPs. And what you're like, well, why do you need 6 satellites from speakers from one ghost box? What is happening is there are different voices coming from these speakers, and I believe they're direct radio voices. They're coming from these speakers that the spirit box did not spit out. It happened at the Conjuring House. It's happened at other places where I was first starting to use the system and before it became what it is now, I was realizing that if you linked all this stuff together, there was different voices coming out of different places that did not originate with the original device that was sending the audio out. So let me go ahead and bring that up on here really quick. Matthew, you want to kind of fill in a second while I do this?
Unless Taryn's got something she wants to hit on the show first, and then we can jump into it. What do you want us to do there, Taryn?
Well, first of all, you may have answered this question, but again, I am not tech savvy at all. So I have a question. When you use that device, so the device you're talking about does real time or does the scan for like a voice box, basically?
Okay.
Right.
So
So
I brought out the visuals.
all right. So what I'm saying is like, have you ever had them? Did you ever the real time pick up on an EVP? And if you said, because you can play them at the same time, you said, right?
Well, you have a base unit. This base unit, this is the tuner. All right. This is call it your ghost box. I call it the interdimensional communicator because we don't know what we're talking to. We don't know if we're talking to spirits or whatever. So this puts out the audio that goes out into the entire building. Okay. Only that. This unit here does not have a tuner in it. It does not. This is not a ghost box in any way. What it is, it's a special unit that I built. The audio from that unit comes to this and plays out this speaker. This microphone picks it up and sends it back on this wire back to my computer. And it does that in 6 different locations right now, the way I have the system built. 6 different locations. So the audio is traveling out, let's say, 500 feet one way, 600 feet another way, all over the investigation site. It's going out. This microphone is picking it up and sending it back. What it should look like when it comes back and you're looking at your computer, everything should match. Because in theory, if the audio you sent out should match the audio that's coming back. Right. Correct?
Yeah.
What we're finding is that it doesn't always come back the way it was sent out. Other things will be mixed in with it, and that'll take me a second to get this set back up. But, so that shows you what the computer looks like. Okay, so the audio goes out, the microphone picks it up and brings it back. We're finding EVPs in certain locations, or we're finding direct radio voices in other locations that did not originate from the original device that sent it out there. I mean, in theory, if you have, let's call it surround sound, you should have the same voice that left coming back to you every single time. What we're finding is we're getting more back than that was actually sent out.
So let me kind of put that in perspective, I think, for maybe some of the viewers, just in my mind. Well, what I'm thinking is, like, if you have, like Jay's saying, you got these 6 satellites, right? So let's say that you put out that spirit box sound. It's the only way I can put it. The white noise mixed with the snippets going out into the environment. But then on, say, track number 3, you get a voice or an answer that wasn't in any of the other 5 tracks. That would then indicate that is a live EVP that was captured on that environment wherever that satellite is. Would that be correct, Jay?
Well, it could be a live EVP, or it could be a direct radio voice. Well, so how we know is I have meters, sound meters, that are set up in that room that the camera can also see. If you check that camera, when my setup is set up, I've got these 2, and then I've got a huge monitor over here with all my camera feeds. If there was not a spike on that sound from that room, then it was probably an EVP. And then we could try to look at the frequency of what the EVP came on. However, if there was a spike on that sound meter in that camera frame, then we realized that it was either a disembodied voice or it was a direct radio voice. The microphone picked it up, sent it back to us, said it heard something. This is what it heard. And it heard, "Hey, Frank." Now, if that meter spiked, "Hey, Frank" was either one or the other. It was either a direct radio voice that came out of the speaker because it did not originate from base command, or it was a disembodied voice. But since the meter picked it up, that means it was ambient. It was not an EVP. But if that meter does not pick it up, then we've now narrowed it down to an EVP. So this is a very complicated system to set up. It's the only one in the world. I've been working on it for a year and a half. It will cover, I can go up to, right now, 6 areas, 1,500 feet away. So if you drew a circle around that, that's a little over 7,600,000 square feet that I can do.
Wow.
So we're only looking at 58,000 square feet on the Randolph. So there's no reason why I can't cover every floor of the Randolph front to back, trying not to let them overlap. And that's where all the setup comes in. You don't want those circles to overlap. You don't want to hear what's coming in out of one box coming in on another one. So there's some setup that's involved, and it's hard. One person can't do it by themselves. This is not a one-person gig here. But this is something that's only been done one other time. It was done at the Conjuring House. I do have some videos. We had some very interesting stuff that happened at the Conjuring House. So we used it twice. We used it at the Conjuring House on its own. We also used it at the Conjuring House when we were tying in the Nickerson Sneed house together, and we tried that experiment as well. This next time, we're going to try some even grander experiments, because you're like, okay, well, I like the Estes method. Well, how about we do the Estes method with 5 people? And we're recording audio, video, everything for 5 people in real time while someone is analyzing all of this. Okay, so I mean, the limitations on what I've seen on most of my devices.
Right. No, what are you doing?
That's a showstopper.
Basically, what I've done was all the limitations I've seen with my devices, I've tried to do away with them when I built this huge system. I mean, it's huge and it's very complicated to set up. Takes a while to do it, but I believe the evidence that we're going to get is going to be well worth all the effort and work that the year and a half I put into it and the hours it's going to take us to set it up. It's going to be well worth it, and everybody's going to want to see it.
I absolutely agree. And I just want to kind of piggyback, if I could, on that real quick. Not only are we going to have all of those devices linked in and have that level of audio and environmental monitoring, you're also going to have, since my team has basically 11 people, well, 10 people will be there, plus we're bringing another couple of guests with us. We have Medium Sky Ray will be joining us, and Justin Spurrier from Spurrier Paranormal. So we're going to have some veteran investigators and psychic mediums on all of these floors. So while we're doing these experiments, like Jay was saying, with those 5 people in the Estes method, you're also going to have 1 or 2 investigators monitoring other devices like the EDI, capturing the environmental data, capturing temperature, barometer, pressure changes, as well as psychic mediums helping to maybe guide some of the answers that we're getting. So we're really taking all 3 components of the paranormal and rolling that together and cross and even triple validating those experiments and experiences.
I was just going to say, it's like a trifecta.
Yeah.
Investigate, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be some serious shit you guys are going to have going on over there.
That's what we truly are saying.
It's amazing.
It's never, we don't know of anybody that's ever attempted anything on this scale.
I mean, I know it's a documentary, but are you going to go live at all during this, or are you going to keep it for?
We haven't really talked about that. In fact, myself, Jay, Sky, a couple of the lead people on my team, and Justin are going to get together here soon and have some creative discussions. I don't think we've really decided on that yet. That hasn't been something that I've discussed with any of the creative team. Actually, I hadn't really thought about it. We've just been focused on putting it into the documentary format so we can tell the story of Randolph County, its history, its uniqueness, what's going on there, and then hopefully back that up with evidence in a way that people have never seen presented before. And that's why we're really excited about the project.
Now, do you have anybody that's going to be there that, for lack of a better description, clairaudient?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We do have clairaudience there. Some of the psychic mediums use all 5 of their clairs, like Sky. She's actually able to use all 5 clairs. So Rhonda can use all 5 clairs as well.
What I want to do with Sky, this is a direct link FXWC. A lot of people that know me, they know my direct links. This is
Love it. Got one.
This is a modified direct link.
I don't, but not because I wouldn't, just because I if somebody said, what is that and how does it work? I'd be like, no idea. And it doesn't.
Well, Jay's going to tell you why that's super unique.
I modified this one with another microphone. This one is specially made to be used with the intercom system so that somebody like Sky, when she lays her finger here, she will be hardwired into the entire building. This direct link is specifically built to work with the intercom system. So when she touches this, she's going to be hardwired to the entire building. And I can't wait to see what happens because we already know what happens with anybody that knows the direct link knows what happens with people with abilities use it. It either goes good or it goes bad. It either makes too much noise, they can't use it, or it works really well. I can't wait to see what happens when we wire her into the entire building.
Well, Jay, I just want to add to that real quick. We actually have that exact device minus the microphone. That's the first device that we purchased from Jay, and he's actually going to be building us a second one, which I'm super excited to have a second one in our arsenal. But I will say this real quick, and I am definitely not knocking any other equipment or ghost boxes, but there is a definite difference when you hold the direct link and you actually put your finger over that portion and you complete that circuit and you complete that connection, because you're now inducing your energy into that circuit. And the thing that's important about that is if you've ever used dowsing rods or spirit boards, that is all based on your energy as you're channeling spirit. Well, this is doing that and then injecting that into that digital language that is then we're able to hear those responses in real time. So that is very, very important distinction between that and some of the other types of devices that are out there. Jay's devices are different for all the reasons he already explained, the number of frequencies, the randomness, all that. But that's another component that's even further different. I want to add one other experiment that we're going to be doing that we just actually tried with Jay's device at the Nickerson Sneed. I haven't had a chance to tell Jay about it yet too much, but I think this would be a good time since we're going to be able. So this is like, we're like unveiling some secrets here that haven't even been discussed yet. We did an experiment where we took a Tibetan raw copper bracelet, and then we wired it to a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and plugged it into a extension and then ran it out to Jay's box. So basically we took that and put it on somebody in a seance. Okay. So we had a seance circle. We took all of the energy from that seance circle and we sent it directly to the box while we had somebody monitoring it in an Estes method in another room. So we were taking the energy from the entire seance, putting it into Jay's device, having that person Estes then giving us answers back as to what they were hearing. So we couldn't hear in the seance room exactly what was being said, in the Estes method. And then we had investigators monitoring the environment and comparing the two sides of it to see if we were getting valid answers from both. So we were taking a Victorian era method and validating it through Jay's device by taking that energy from the entire seance. So at the Randolph County, one of the experiments we want to do, Jay, is that same thing, but put a big seance in and then plug all that energy into your system and see what happens while it's being monitored back at base camp.
how many of those bracelets
Wow.
can you make? I will bring the splitters if you can make the bracelets, and we will put one at each of the locations where the so we would need 6 bracelets, 5 bracelets.
I could
Um,
do that. I could order 5 more of the Tibetan raw copper bracelets if the vendor on Etsy has that many left. And yes, I could do that. We could wire
I
them up.
can make the splitters, and we will have everyone put a bracelet on when they're doing the SDs in those 5 locations, and I will use the splitters to wire them into the system as well.
There you go, guys. You're hearing us decide how to do this thing in real time live here on Paranormal Brew.
Awesome. Yes. I love this. And then we'll like share it on Paranormal Brew's page too. And on my page. Of course. I'm always supporting you guys, you know.
Man, thank you,
Um,
Taryn.
so tell us a little bit about the location. Why did you pick that? Where is it, like what has you
Um,
guys
yeah, so
you picked this special location, which
mhm.
I've never heard of before. Where's it at? And you're going to be doing this groundbreaking paranormal project experience for everybody. What is it about that place, that location? Is it the size because he wants to test out? Jay wants to test the size, the perimeters and all that stuff. Like, what is it that you guys
Well,
do it?
I will kind of tell you how this came about for me, and then I will let Jay explain why he decided to jump on the project and test out his stuff on this scale. So, my team went to Randolph County Infirmary or Asylum. I refer to it as the Asylum, but also known as Randolph County Infirmary. It's a very famous haunted location in Winchester, Indiana. It was built in 1851.
Oh wow.
And back in that time, pretty much, and this is, I guess, a better way to put it. This is like an example of what was common practice in the mid 1800s in this country. So this is one remaining location of probably thousands that literally did the same thing. If you were somebody that was an orphan, if you had mental illness, if you were homeless, if you were even sometimes a widower, if you just were what society didn't think was okay or normal, the answer was to stick you in a poorhouse or an asylum and leave you there. So literally, people would sometimes be born, live their entire life, and die in an asylum setting. They would even refer to these people as inmates. So they basically had to work a farm or whatever was on the property in order to have room and board. And that's just where society left these people. It's a really tragic thing. And when I first read about the Randolph County Asylum, I was just really drawn. I don't know. I was just really pulled to it. The team went, unfortunately, due to some health issues in my family. I wasn't able to go when they went. They came back and are like, man, this place is off the chain. We love it. The energy, the history. It's so incredible. We've got to go back. Well, Jay and I were working on linking. He was at the Conjuring House for a project. And let me tell you what a stand up guy Jay is. He was scheduled to be on the gathering with us to do a show. He's like, man, I've got this event going on at the Conjuring House. I don't want to not do your show. And I was like, man, listen, if you got an event, do what you got to do. He's like, no, let's work. Let's do something. Let's figure out something where I can come to you live from the Conjuring House. So we decided to link the Nickerson's Need and the Conjuring House live on our show and try to do spirit communication in 2 different places, kind of testing whether or not spirits could cross the veil literally from one location to another and communicate. And
That's crazy.
we had some interesting results. Unfortunately, we were really limited with MiFi, so we didn't have the greatest audio and video to go with it. So anyhow, we just kind of clicked, Jay and I, and kept talking. And when the Randolph County thing came up, we were planning on going. I just called him and said, "Hey, man, what do you think? You want to go with us?" And it kind of grew into a documentary. And Jay, why don't you tell them why you decided to jump on the project?
Well, I guess for me, anytime somebody's going to let me play with my toys, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be ready to go do it. And this was one of those special places. He told me what it was about, what the place was about. I have not been there, so it was definitely someplace I wanted to go. It was large. And just the backstory on it. And plus, it's, some of what we're doing is for stop. And I can let
Yes.
Matthew explain that part. But I just felt I felt drawn to this project and like-minded people that were going to embrace what I'm trying to do. No offense to using a flashlight and a EVP recorder. That's great. That's not me. When I show up, it's a 10-foot trailer full of equipment, and I've got experiments that I want to run because I don't get out of my workshop very often. So when these guys invite me out and say, "Hey, we'll help you. We're interested," then I'm there. I'm ready to do it.
I would just show up with recorders, basically. That's it. I'm not anything else because I'm all about EVPs. That's the easiest thing. You hit record, you set it down, you go, and it's fine, But
that's the great thing about my system is you can hear the EVP in real time. You don't have to wait and rewind. If they start communicating with you, you just start talking. That's why it's called the intercom system. If they start talking, you start talking back. It's all being recorded, so you're more than welcome to hit the recorder on and record everything. But when these voices start coming out, it is amazing.
I bet. Like I not 100% of the time, but I would say 80% of the time I'm clairaudient. You know what I mean? So for me, using a recorder for me, and I'm like, did you just hear that? And I say exactly what they said, how they said it, in the tone, and then you listen back on the recorder and it's there. For me, that's validation that I am actually hearing something. Exactly. So having a system like that, is very interesting to me. And I probably would love to play with something like that. You know what I mean? Because of the EVP aspect of it, because that's my favorite type of evidence to get, Well,
like you're saying, not everyone has abilities.
Right.
I don't have abilities. I am trying to base my equipment off of y'all's abilities and give the common person the chance, maybe, hopefully, the chance to experience what psychics and mediums and clairvoyants, what y'all experience. I'm trying to build devices that will maybe not give it exactly, but at least mimic it and let someone experience what you experience. They don't have any abilities at all.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I really do like about Jay's equipment, and one of the things that drew me to his research, is his devices. You can just turn it on and start interacting and use it like you would, quote unquote, a ghost box. But they're also designed with a lot of inputs and outputs. So if you're a researcher, which is what our team really focuses on, is more research, we still like having experiences, don't get me wrong, but we like to actually validate, and we like to record off of those sessions. So his device allows, even if you have somebody, in Estes method or whatever method you want to refer to that as, you can plug a recorder in and we can record what's actually coming out of the box and compare that to what we're recording from the person that's in the room and put those two together and actually see if were they hearing exactly what they heard? Was it a case of pareidolia or matrixing, or were they being actually psychically told, whether they realized it or not, and getting that information clairvoyant, or clear, I guess that'd be clairaudiently, or clear, one of the clairs, knowing, clear cognizant. That's what I was looking for, clear cognizant. So, that's what I like about his devices. They're research driven. I mean, yes, you can use them in the terms of just using them as, ghost boxes or whatever you want to call it, but they're really designed for research and really producing evidence.
Yeah.
Even the direct link is meant so where you can turn around, and I did it at the Conjuring House, and there's a video out there where I show it in not just my workshop, because I do those videos all the time, but when I get in the field, I want to try to do real videos where people are seeing me actually in the investigation, showing how to use the devices. And you can turn around and play that Estes method back and plug in both recorders, because you could record multiple ways off even the direct link. And using a simple splitter, you could play back that session right there. play it back, it's all overlapping through the device. So you're actually hearing what the asker asked, what the listener said, and the ghost box. You're hearing it together coming out of the box. And then you can stop, swap the wires back, and do another session. So my devices are meant to be more than just a spirit box. It's meant to be a tool to be used in the field. So you don't have to wait for 4 days until you got back and analyze all that. You could do it right then in real time and just play it back and then follow that line of questioning. If something was happening, you just follow that line of questioning and keep going.
Right. Yeah, no, I think this is like, I don't even know how this just, it almost sounds like you had one idea and it just kind of like flowed to the other idea and kept flowing. And now it's like this thing. And it's like, wow, I mean, it's a very complicated thought process. So it's not like something where, the person that invented doorknobs where we were like, oh, why didn't we think of that? This isn't like one of those things. Like you really would have to sit down and almost draw out
Well, I'm not sure if you can see how many holes are in the side of that, but those are all jacks. This is called the IDC lab. It's also the base unit for this. That is meant, what would have been in the 1970s that filled up an entire room of audio that the paranormal guys were using is in that box. If you'd gone to Radio Shack and said, hey, can you give me, I got this, and this, I want to be able to plug it all in. Radio Shack could not have sold you a mixer and the amplifiers and everything. You would have still ended up with a table of equipment nowadays. I've reduced it all down to one box and that's why I call it the IDC lab. You can take that one box into the field and do all your experimentation out of that one box. Yeah, it does have a tuner in it that you can use, but it's basically a paranormal audio mixer amplifier where you can plug in anything and everything you want in different ways. It's hard to explain. I got 8 videos just explaining that one box. There's probably 8-10-minute videos giving examples of how the box works, why it was built, everything that can be done with it. And that's what I'm doing. There's a lot of people that build ghost boxes, and they're building great, awesome ghost boxes. I want to do something different that not to replace other ghost boxes, but can be used in conjunction with all these other devices. And it gives you those audio capabilities that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Right. That's awesome. And I think that's a great idea. And the fact that I actually was following that, you're a great teacher, number one. And number two, that is impressive. I do want to just take 1 second right now, since we had about 20 people on. For those of us in the paranormal field, please, prayers for Kathy Young, Mountain Gypsies. She's in the hospital and not doing well.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah. So I really want to put it out there for all of people out there in the family. Just please pray for her. She had some ups and downs today, and at the moment she's at a down. And it's pretty scary. So I just really want to put it out there for prayers.
And a lot of us in the paranormal are also energy workers in the paranormal field. So I'd ask the energy workers to send her some love and light and some healing energy, because that goes a long way. That helps too. Yeah.
So if anybody knows Kathy or can get a message out to Dana Wingard, because I've been messaging with her all day. Just let her know that we got all these people on here that are going to be sending prayers out for her, because it wasn't good, a little bit ago. So, and she's very prevalent in the paranormal field. So we're pulling for her. That's all. All right. I just wanted to get that out there so we can
very important. Prayers. Yep. Very important.
So now the field, now your documentary.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to use, I'm going to be there, but you guys are all going to be putting
You'll be with us in spirit, Taryn.
I will be. I will be. Especially if you go live, I'll share that everywhere. But so now you're gonna have this. Now, when you say that you can cover this many feet, now do you have to put something on each floor, or is it just this one home base that's gonna cover all the square footage?
No, there's as of right now, I'm using 5 satellites on the home base right now. I hope to get it up to, I think I can get it up to 10 right now once I fully get going and everything. So that's 10 areas that are hardwired. So, yes, there's something on each one of those floors in those locations, and there's an actual physical hard wire, which I build myself because you can't buy it. And it's taking audio out, it's bringing audio back, but it's also bringing a video feed back with it. So each one of these wires is custom built so that I can, like I said before about the cameras, you got to be able to debunk it. So there's always going to be a camera on the device in that room, and then there's going to be another camera somewhere that's watching the doorway or the hallway leading to it. You got to be able to debunk on both floors, above and below it. Was there an investigator that wandered into that area, and was it not, maybe it wasn't a disembodied voice, it was just an investigator. So these
that was just outside of the one camera's range, right? Yeah.
Have you guys worked together yet, or has this all just been
just virtually? We virtually did when we did the Conjuring House thing.
It's you, Matt. I mean, like we didn't know each other, and we meet in this like house. It was so random, right? Like it was just a random investigation. Like we were going, and all of a sudden they're coming, and it's like everybody clicked automatically, and we're like, wow, this is great. This is like we're a good team together. Although we haven't investigated together since
COVID, unfortunately, but we're going to fix that this year, Karen. We're going to make that happen, and we've been friends ever since. So, yes, I agree. We clicked when we first met you and loved you from the start. So, look forward to getting the opportunity to work with you again. We're going to make you come down here to East Tennessee. I mean, I know you keep threatening to do it, so I'm going to actually hold you to it and get you down here. But no, we haven't physically worked together, Jay and I, but just in conversations, we've had several real good conversations on the phone. We did the joint virtual thing. He's been on our show a couple of times. It's just, I think sometimes you just know when people are like-minded, and you can tell if your energies are going to link up. And I have no doubt that we're going to expand upon what we've already built when we work together.
I think it's awesome. He says you guys are being called to come out to Phenomenology in August. You got to do it. It's in Gettysburg, Matt. It's in Gettysburg.
It's in Gettysburg. Oh, yeah. I'm there.
I'm going to have to be in Texas in August for Texas Paracon. So
yeah, but when is that? I don't think that's the same day. I don't think that's the same weekend.
Well, I know, but I'm also taking 2 weeks and going to the beach since I'm already going to be back home.
Gettysburg is so much more awesome than the beach.
Yeah, I live in Maine right now, so anytime I can get to the beach, I go.
Hey, are you anywhere near Joshua Chamberlain's homestead? I ask everybody that lives in that.
I'm not sure exactly where it is, but I used to drink a lot in Joshua's, which is a pub in Brunswick that's named after Joshua, and his stuff is everywhere. So
really,
maybe it's near there, but I did drink a lot of beer and play a lot of pool in Joshua's.
Oh, wow. We have somebody joining us from Scotland. Hi.
Well, hello, Scotland.
Yeah, thank you so much. What time is it there? But yeah, so where was I going with all that? I don't even know. There goes my ADD.
That's all right. But so, no, I think it's, go ahead, Taryn.
Go ahead. No, go.
No, I was just going to say, so I think that also I want to just comment on one other thing. We're going to do very controlled experiments. We're going to actually make sure that we know what team, we're going to break into subdivide into smaller teams, and we're going to send, team A is on the 5th floor, so everybody will know who's where for that accountability. And we're really going to do controlled experiments to where we've got a mission when we go to do this experiment. And see, there you go.
I have
Wow.
maps already
Wow.
because
Yeah.
whoever's going to be at base command is going to know where everybody's at. So every floor, now I'll also have them on my computer, but these are good for running the wires and all that, but they're also good for us to be able to color code them. I color code them so you know who's where, because you've got, when you're doing these kinds of experiments, you got to make sure that you dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's before you say you caught something.
Absolutely. That's yeah. And, you know, especially when you're presenting anything as evidence, right? Now, there's two things. You know, we also work as my team also works on the mediumship side. Now, that's a little different. We validate that when environmental data changes, but it's really hard to say that me as a sensitive, even developing my own mediumship ability, when I feel I've got a connection with something, I know it. You know, if a psychic that like Sky or Rhonda, who are way up here on that ability, they know it. Just like Taryn, when you hear something, you know you heard it, and you want that validation, but you still know you heard it. So those experiences are still part of the story, and they're presented slightly different than when we're talking about the evidence. So it's part of the story, and it's part of the total experience because it's the evidence, it's the experience, it's the history, it's the validation, it's all of that that comes together to give you the entire story of what's happening. So I just wanted to point out that we are going to be doing this in a controlled manner. It's not going to be willy-nilly. It's not going to be everybody just running around doing whatever they want to do. This is serious. We're treating it as work, and we're going in there to really tell the story and the history of this location and try to do what we can to make legitimate contact with whatever is there, whatever entities or spirits still are at Randolph County, and present that in a format that people can relate to and understand in something they haven't seen before.
That's going to be really cool. That's going to be really cool. And I think it's awesome. And I mean, you know, one thing I think you have to do is, I mean, I've never heard of Randolph County before. So
and that shocks me because you're such a paranormal junkie. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I've never heard of it before. So here, you know, here's a new location. So that alone is going to catch the ears and the eyes of people, you know, that aren't familiar with it, you know, because let's be honest, we all circle the same locations, right? We all do. Everybody's been to the Conjuring House. Everybody's been to Penhurst. Everybody's been to, you know, Trans-Allegheny, you know. So to have a new location,
yeah, and I think, you know, it's been around for a long time, and it's been popular with a lot of people. A lot of people have gone to Randolph County, but it has not maybe been frequented near to the level of some of the others, maybe. And that might be because for part of the time it was unavailable in between ownership. So it's only in the last probably 6 or 7 years, and don't quote me directly on a number of years, but less than 10 years that it's been really, really available. And the current owner is a guy by the name of Dan Allen. He is really great. It took a little convincing to get him to sign off on the project to this scale with what we were doing, because it is out of the box and it is different than what you know, they're used to even at that facility. But he also is part of, and I wanted to bring this up, and Jay kind of hit it earlier, was that he has a nonprofit called STOP. And that stands for Save the Old Properties. And that's part of the reason we're doing this too, for this documentary, is to raise awareness for STOP, because it's 4 historic properties in the you know, Fort Wayne, Winchester, Indiana area that he owns, that he's trying to restore and keep them open and put them back to a similar to the way they were in their heyday, and preserve those properties and open them to paranormal research. So the ones that are active, obviously. So with that being said, that is a nonprofit that we truly want to support and really help, because if we don't save these historic properties and we don't take care of these buildings and preserve that history, how are we going to have, you know, places to go to further our field? And how are we going to pass on those stories of those poor souls, if it is in fact humans that we interact with, which I think sometimes it is? How are we going to pass their stories on and keep their stories alive if we don't support stuff like STOP?
And I'm all about that. I am all about that. Like, I always volunteer to help out anything, any event, anything to, raise money for, any historical site, or even not just raise money, but to what you said you're doing, which is
Spread
amazing.
the word. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you guys ever need help, I will definitely
Always.
help out. I think it's awesome. I mean, that's one of the things I love about what we do. I love the preservation and the historical side of everything. There's like a couple people writing stuff, so that there's a lot of people that haven't heard of it. Somebody said, love that. Hate when historic buildings get lost or demolished.
Yep.
I do too. I think it's horrible. Um, it's 1:15 in the morning, by the way, there. And
Cool. Wow. Well, thank you for being with us in 1:15.
You can record all evidence, whether it's written down, audio, video recorded. It's still so hard for people to believe your findings. It's hard to be in the field in the UK, which is weird, right? Because I feel like,
they're so much ahead of us in that, it's people accepting the paranormal.
So
I always thought, yeah.
That's
I think that while you're reading those, Taryn, I'll just say this. I think that for people, you're never going to convince the hardcore skeptic of the existence of paranormal, and no more than you're going to, convince the hardcore believer that it doesn't exist. I think a lot of us fall in the middle. We believe, we know these things happen, but we still want measurable stuff to validate it, or we still want that, we still want to debunk things and prove it, not only to ourselves but to everybody else. So I think a lot of us fall in the middle. It's sort of like the atheist and the preacher. They're never going to agree. That's a conversation that's useless. So
I mean, everything I do skeptically. Everything I build it with a skeptical mind, going, okay, if it convinces me, if I catch evidence with this, then it must be pretty legit, because I built this specifically to rule out false positives, try to rule out false positives. So I everything I build with a skeptical mind, because if I can convince me, then this is definitely something that someone else is going to be interested in viewing and watching and listening to.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead, Taryn. I was going to say real quick, that's another thing I love about Jay's work and his devices. They don't lock in hard on radio signals. Like if you have a strong signal, it just doesn't get hung up on that one frequency. It's designed, right, Jay, to continue to bounce around and not lock in on that unless something manipulates it and tries to lock it in on that. Which is
that's always been my problem with spirit boxes. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I have Bob and Gina on here. They do, they do the boxes, and they also do the trigger props, and I've had other people on here that make, the spirit boxes. But my thing is it's just, to me, something like that, like the normal spirit box is just, there's just too much cause of interference with something. I mean, it could be a CB radio from a trucker driving by that you pick up. You never know, right?
That's why I don't call mine ghost boxes. Mine are IDC, interdimensional communicators, because like I say, we don't know what we're communicating with, whether it's aliens, fairies, ghosts, other beings from other dimensions, us in another dimension, us in this dimension, our own subconscious, or the investigator standing next to me. Is he somehow subconsciously affecting?
Right.
Now, that in itself is still paranormal, because we wouldn't be able to affect those things. That goes against what we know in this realm, that we can affect those.
Right.
But we have evidence that it looks like that does sometimes happen. Even with my devices, it sounds like another investigator in the room talking. He's like, it ain't me. Or it might even sound like your own voice.
Well, yeah, but somebody earlier, and that's true. And I know I've heard a couple of, stuff that I've gotten on record, but there was somebody earlier. It's funny that we're saying that, because somebody earlier was saying that EVPs can come, like, even like, over your voice. I wish I could.
Disembodied voices can latch on to.
I shared it earlier. But he said that they could piggyback our voices, which I've had a couple of recordings where people are talking and you can almost hear this, like, it almost sounds electronic but not, and it just kind of like it takes over your voice, and as you're talking, and then like kind of waves in and waves out, and you're like, that didn't sound right. But
because I don't want Matthew to roll his eyes here, and I'm not going to go into about photons theories.
Don't get them started.
There, you can go watch them on my theories on photons. But I will say this: photons are binary. They're zeros and ones. My devices are based on binary. The photons that leave our brain are binary, and so take that for what it's worth. But if binary meets binary and ghosts are photons or their thoughts are photons and it can manipulate the binary code in my devices, that is one way to communicate. And not just my devices, other spirit boxes, they have chips in them that are programmed from the factory that are running on binary code. So anything after about 1984, 1985 is going to have these chips in there that were programmed running on binary code. So with that being said, if the spirit could manipulate those things with photons, maybe that's where we're getting some of our communication.
Maybe. Jay, what do you do for a living?
I'm a retired master electrician.
Okay. I was going to say, because it's like, this is like very engineering.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm a retired licensed master electrician. I've had my certifications in electronics, fire alarm systems, alarm systems, generators. I'm an expert in the electrical engineering field. I'm not an expert in paranormal. There's no such thing as an expert in paranormal. But I bring my professionalism over the last 30 some odd years into this field of what I've studied of, magnetism and energies, and all of this is what I bring into the field. So it not only helps me build the devices, the electronic background and the electrical background for electrical systems, helps me build the devices, but my theories on what I know from this realm, this universe, the physics of this universe, is how gives me the theories behind why I'm building it the way I built
it. It's definitely interesting, and I think of anybody that I've ever talked to that makes equipment. I mean, that your explanations and everything that you just said, I'm like, wow, this is like I want to try it and use it. Actually, it sounds very interesting. I wish you got to go live. You got to go live during the documentary. I mean, like, you just have to do it. I mean, do it for me.
We got to do it for Darren. And that's an interesting point, though, Jay, when you talk about, and I've thought a lot about, because, we've talked about the photons before, and I've thought quite a bit about one of the things that goes really along with that, even when we talk about EVPs, right? How do we get EVPs? I mean, have we ever really stopped and thought about how you get an EVP? They don't have voice boxes anymore or vocal cords anymore. Where's that coming from? What is it that's producing this audible footprint that we can then play back? And a lot of times it's valid answers to questions we're putting out there. So whether we're transdimensionally communicating, whether it's whatever, it's definitely not being received from something creating through a voice, vocal cords, creating those sound waves. That's also why when we look at EVPs, and I'm not knocking EVPs because I still use them, I love them, I think it's a very big part of investigating, but you got to be careful with EVPs too, because EVPs are not always this, ghosts or interdimensional. They could be other types of radio information that's out there that we're bringing in. We lost Jay. Hopefully he'll come back. Where did he go? Anyways, what I was saying is, though, those could also be other types of radio frequency fragments that are out there that we're picking up. Hey, Brandy. So, what I'm saying is you have to do due diligence even with EVPs. You have to then stop and look at What frequency range is it in? Is it in the human speech fontanate pattern? Does it look like that when we look at it on a graph? Is it in the right kilohertz range to truly be what should have been, in that EVP range that's outside of human hearing? So I guess what I'm getting at is what Jay is saying with the photons being one of the theories. That makes a whole lot of sense to me, because where do EVPs come from? That's the whole point that I was trying to make. So all those things are what I love about the paranormal. There's so many different theories, and if we put our heads together and we put aside egos and we really don't say, well, my way's the only way or his way's the only way, we put that stuff aside and we try to learn from one another, and we really try to share experiences and stop tearing each other down, I think we could do so much more with this field than we're currently doing. That's why I love collabing with like-minded people so much, and that's why I like trying to really push my own knowledge and my own boundaries. Well, you know that, Taryn. We've worked together.
Yes. Yeah.
I would agree with Kevin. They did. Yes, they did.
And when I met you guys, I investigated outside of my realm. I've never done anything like that. And I'll be honest with you, there was a couple of things. We were there for the whole weekend, and there was a couple of things that we did that I probably would never have done normally with people that I didn't know, but I felt like I was so comfortable and I trusted you guys right away. I mean, I don't know why. I just did. So you're like, here, let's try this. I'm like, okay, so we did it, right? I normally wouldn't do that.
Well, that makes me feel good, Taryn. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, even the whole seance thing. I normally I would be like, you know what, that's it. But that was an awesome experience that we had. You know what I mean? We tried so many different things that weekend. You know what I mean? And I think it was great, and I think this is great. So I can't help but to think, if you guys ever got the opportunity to take this experiment or this project, not just to Randolph County. Oh, he's back.
I was going to say, he just messaged me and said, I think I'm backstage.
Sorry, Jay. I didn't realize.
I don't know what happened.
But I think, what if, you got to take it to other places? You have to, not just even places that you've already investigated. But what about Skinwalker Ranch? I'm sure they didn't do anything like this there.
Hey, I would be down if Jay's down. I would be down for taking it on the road to go somewhere. We'd definitely go to Skinwalker Ranch, wouldn't we, Jay?
Yeah. Well, I got some more things in the works, and so we'll just see where it takes us from here.
Yeah. No, I think it's all. I mean, I just think it's amazing. This is great. And you know what? I have a really good feeling about it, and I'm just so happy for Matt. I love you. So I'm so happy that, that you're getting the opportunity to work with Jay. And Jay, I know we don't know each other. We've never met, in person, but, we're Facebook friends, and, I think you're awesome. So I think this is great, for even the community, you know what I mean? Even our paranormal, the field, you know what I mean? To see things done differently. Kenny Biddle was on earlier, and he said, he had talked to Jay a couple of times, and he's our favorite skeptic. So
yeah, he is the most hardcore skeptic I know, for sure.
Yeah. But I just want to say two things. Before we went on, Jay said he has his full spectrum camera on. And he said, it's the clearest picture that I can get. And I have a full spectrum, digital camera. So when I go to Gettysburg, or go wherever I'm going to take, because I love scenery pictures, I will use my full spectrum to take scenery pictures because of the quality of the photo. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. And that really makes sense from a photography standpoint. Yes, you lose some of your color correctness, but you're not filtering out all that infrared. So I think that's why full spectrum cameras, they allow so much more of that spectrum through. So a lot more information is reaching the camera sensor. So you're seeing a much clearer, more better developed picture than you do through the filtration. So just my thoughts on it as a photography geek.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I love my full spectrum camera. It takes the best pictures.
I never bought one before, and I didn't want to go through the hassle of trying to make one myself. So I went to a fellow builder and got all the specs from him. And I said, yep, I'll take that one. I want that one. And I'm so glad I did. It's one of my best investments from one of the other builders.
I also wanted to say something. The only equipment I've used that made EMF and recorder, I'd love to use what Jay has made. Yeah. I agree. I would love to at least try it out. Being such a tech, I don't want to say idiot, that's mean, you know what I mean? But I'm not, if I just have something, all I have to do is hit record, it's great. You know what I mean? But if I gotta
Simplicity. We'll call it simplicity. You like simplicity.
yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to touch on is when you were talking about Randolph County, the asylum and everything. What's interesting is before I ever went to Pennhurst, I don't know if you guys have been to Pennhurst yet.
I have not, no.
It's probably, aside from Gettysburg, because Gettysburg, well, there'll never be nothing that tops that for me. Pennhurst and Rolling Hills, two places you guys got to go. I mean, it's amazing, both of them. But Pennhurst, I had this drawing to, right? Didn't know why. Go there one night, we investigate. I wound up being on a radio show maybe a couple weeks later. And after that, connected with family I never knew I had in Georgia. They must have been Facebook stalking, saw that and I say that in a nice way, saw that I had gone to Pennhurst. Well, my family messages me and says, you had a cousin that was a resident of Pennhurst.
Oh, wow.
I said, really? I said, no, I didn't know. He was there his whole entire life. Now, I knew you had said about how they would. So he was there until he was 18, yeah. 1978, when stuff started to go down at Pennhurst. And then they took him out of Pennhurst and he went to Hamburg State Hospital. But he was in Pennhurst all 18 years of his life. Yeah. Wow. And I was, for some reason, drawn there. And the first time I went there, walking around the halls, I felt and I'm not somebody that walks in anywhere. And normally I'm an investigator. I'm a researcher. So like when I go in places, I'm opening up drawers, cabinets, under the beds, in here. Like I am very, the investigate, like I just want to investigate everything. So for me to have experiences or see things or hear things, you know what I mean? I tend to think that, what if I'm experiencing something, it's legit, because I don't normally, I can't walk in somewhere and go, oh, I feel the presence of you know what I mean? Like that's not me, but when I went there, definitely walked in and I felt not drunk, but like drugged a little bit and very goofy. And I had to, leave there, I had to go out a couple of times and this and that. And and then later on found out I had like same last name, that close of a cousin that was that was in there, so I definitely love the fact of bringing these types of places to preserve the history, whatever's going on there, whether it's, whether it's just a residual thing, whatever it is. I mean, I always say us as human always have to label. We always have to have a label so we can have an explanation, so that we can have this and that. But, it's, who knows what it is, but whatever it is, it's awesome.
Yeah. And it's and I think, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't. I think that everything happens for a reason. I think, in my opinion, spirit is the reason why those things happen. And I'm not getting into religion or philosophical with you. I'm just saying that I think everything happens for a reason. The people you meet, the people that come into your life, it all happens for a purpose. Some people are lessons. Some people are to connect you to other people, and some people become a constant in your life because they're meant to be in your life. So I think in your case, Taryn, from my view, you were meant to go there. There's a reason, and that reason is probably that connection to a relative, in my opinion. But I am one of those people that does walk into a place and I'm sensitive. I feel energies. I feel these different things. And the more I've developed that, the more I can connect to those energies. So, but I wasn't always that way. When I got into the paranormal, I was exactly the opposite. I was a complete skeptic. I had never had an experience. I didn't disbelieve people who did. I had just never had one of my own until I did. So I think it's a path for everybody, you know, and you kind of develop your own thing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, like, there have been times where I've walked in and for me, I think because I am such a disbeliever in myself,
Right.
when I do pick up on things and I do start to have that, like, the things are like, I pick up on names that are like just so out of nowhere. Like you would never think of, like, this is not a normal name. You know what I mean? So it's got to be something that
Something's
big
giving you
for
that
me,
message.
you
Yeah.
know, something that big for me in order
Yeah.
to believe that I'm really picking up on something, because I wouldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Sharon. If I just got a Sharon, I'd be like, I'm just thinking that in my head, you know? So,
And as you develop abilities, that's the toughest challenge that for me has been
oh
is
yeah,
trying to decide what is not. So that's that when you talk about clairs, that's that claircognizance. That's knowing. You know. There's no question. I don't know why I know this, but I know this. And a lot of times, you know, that's what you're trying to validate through stuff like equipment and through stuff like environmental changes. So that's what we're going to try to do with this thing, and you know, is really try to take all those different layers.
yeah. And it's interesting. I've just delved into my ancestry, which when Jay was over here, like, talking about all the stuff he's doing, and he's like, writing out like blueprints and, doing all this and that. I'm just trying to do my ancestry on ancestry.com and 23andMe, and I'm literally 3 hours in. I'm like, I think I just fucked this whole thing up. I don't even know what's happening right now. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. My tree
Who am
is
I?
retarded. Like, I don't even know what's
I don't even
happening.
know who I am at this point, right?
Like, what's happening? But I did find out.
Well, look at that octopus.
But I did find out that
Dang.
I had I have a great grandfather that actually massive heart attack on Big Round Top in Gettysburg and
Oh,
died.
wow.
Yeah,
And see, and there again, Taryn, that's another
exactly.
place that you were so drawn to. And Jay, I know you haven't had the pleasure of meeting Taryn in person, and I hope you get to someday because
Yeah.
she is a blast. She is a lot of fun. I can't wait to be in the
you
field
are.
with her again. I love working with
I
Taryn.
can't wait.
You will love her.
Thank you.
She is awesome.
You are too.
But to know how connected she is to Gettysburg, I think it's like it's weird. She's like got this. It's in her DNA.
Yeah.
So there's a reason, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's what we find, the synchronicities as we call them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And I am looking so forward to. So when is this supposed to happen?
We're going to be there in March. We are down to a few weeks. And another thing I want to really quick point out about this project, we are not getting paid to do this. This is not something that some big, production company is coming in and taking care. This is us. We're funding it. We're creating it. We're putting it together. We're going to be, we're going to have some hopefully professional videography going on. We're definitely going to have professional audio, not just with Jay, but an actual audio tech with us. We're working on the video side of that. Hopefully we'll get that worked out and funded too. But by and large, we're doing this. We're funding the location. We're funding the travel. We're funding the hotel. We're funding the project. We're funding the production. So that's why we have the GoFundMe. That's why and I'm going to shamelessly beg anybody watching this, please.
Can you message me the GoFundMe link?
I will.
So I can put it.
Certainly
I can put it up. I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to.
If you can spare $1, we'll take 50 cents. We'll take whatever you got. If you got some change in your, we don't have ashtrays and cards anymore, do we? In your cup holder. If you've got a handful of change in your cup holder, give us your change. I'm being absolutely shameless right now.
Which, by the way,
we got to get it funded.
We're going to do this project anyway.
That's right.
Oh wait,
it's happening no matter what. Yep.
Let me see if I can. I'm going to try to do the banner thing. But did my payment, because I donated, I want to know if it went through. I don't.
Not that I saw. You and I had briefly talked about it. And thank you though for donating. We do appreciate that.
Is that the link to
that is the link to the YouTube.
I don't know why it's coming up like
that's
that.
Okay. It does have the information on there. If you go into the description, the link to the GoFundMe is in there. But that is I won't say trailer, because to me, to have a trailer, you would have actually had to shot the event. That is more of I guess, a concept reel of what we're trying to do. It kind of shows our team. It talks about Jay. It talks about Justin Spur. It talks about Sky. And it talks about the site and some of the history there and kind of what we're trying to do. So I guess it's a teaser. We'll call it
I
a
think
teaser.
it's awesome. I
And
love
with
it.
what Justin and
really good.
Sky are going to bring to it, as well as the rest of the team, it's an amazing, well-rounded team. And Taryn, you know Justin Spurrier?
I don't know. I know Sky. I know Sky very
Sky.
well. Yeah. No, I don't know if I know Justin.
Spurrier Paranormal. Look him up on YouTube. Him and his son do a Spurrier Paranormal.
I feel like I've seen the name recently. I know I definitely have seen his name recently. I don't know if we're friends on Facebook or
he is an equipment tech for paranormal TV shows.
Okay.
So you would definitely know him if you see him, and you would definitely know the TV shows that he works for.
Okay, so I know recently I have seen his name. I don't know if it was off the top of my head. I can't remember.
He is actually good friends with Jay. Jay and him are good friends, and it was actually Jay's suggestion to bring him onto the project. I got the opportunity to talk to him on the phone for a couple of hours, and I really think he is a fantastic guy. I mean, I don't know him personally, I haven't met him yet, but just from talking to him, definitely one of those people that believes in paranormal research, believes in evidence, believes in being ethical and doing things the right way. I could definitely tell that from just the conversations that I've had. Those two conversations that I've had.
I have to correct, because phenomenology, Megan. So she's one of my best friends. Love her to death. But she corrected me. Phenomenology is in June, Jay. So now you don't have an excuse.
I'll see what I can do. Where's it located at?
I was going to say Gettysburg. Gettysburg.
Let me see what I can do. Me and Justin have a lot of stuff on our plates at that we're trying to get done. So I'll just have to check my schedule. Me and Justin, we've been friends for. I was actually introduced to Justin through Corey Heinzen, who owns the Conjuring House. I've known Corey longer than I've known Justin, and I've known Corey for 8-9 years, and I've known Justin about 8 years. So we go way back. But now we're starting to do a lot more projects together than we've done over the last few years. So
I'm like digging this whole project thing. I'm digging it. Anytime I can be involved with anything where you guys go, even any. I mean, I have a place in Gettysburg that we could use. You know what I mean? Like, there's places. You know what I mean? I want to be involved. I want to see this. I want to see this whole thing. I want to see it.
Well, I have a lot of videos, but like you're saying, you're not going to be interested in my technical videos. But some of the videos from the Conjuring House that I did, because we went live for the Conjuring House and Halloween for not Dark Zone. Dark Zone is when I did Lizzie Borden. Nick Groff's. What is that? Nick Groff's channel.
His show?
No, that streaming service.
Oh, VDI Space?
Yeah, VidiSpace.
VidiSpace.
So we went live for 4 or 5 days from the Conjuring House. I have some of those video clips on my Facebook. And also when we connected the Conjuring House to Sneed's, the house you got there, Matthew.
The Nickerson Sneed, yeah.
Yeah, Nickerson Sneed house. Some of those videos were there. So those would be more interested for people that don't want to watch the technical stuff, but you want to watch how it all came about, and you don't really care about what happened on the backside. Just you want to see the evidence and what we were catching. I do have some of those videos on my Facebook, and it's really interesting for those who just don't care about the technical. Those videos are there to watch.
I care about it. Like I want to know how it works, but at some point, because I have ADD so bad,
It
I
just,
should.
yeah.
Yeah. Then it's like, and then everything. But you did. I mean, when you were explaining everything, I was like, wow, I really actually followed that from start to finish. Like that's impressive, Jay. You have no idea how impressive that is to keep
Well, I
me.
try to keep the videos that I do to less than 10 minutes on my theories and my ideas on my devices and not get too technical, but also still get technical enough for the ones that want to know the inside and out in case they want to do it themselves or whatever, so that they can get the gist of it. So I try to walk that line so that everybody gets a little something out of the video, because let's face it, I'm only going to do this so many more years, and I want what I've learned and my mistakes and failures and successes, I want them to continue on and people to be interested in the work that I did while I was here. So that's why I keep making these videos, because I just want people to know what I'm passionate about.
So that, all right. So, and then you have to make a promise that, if you find somebody that's going to carry on your legacy of all of you are going to be the one that comes back on your own equipment and give us the holy grail of, and then we can say,
Communication.
Kenny Biddle, see, it does exist.
I know. I mean, Frank, I got a lot of Frank stuff after he passed. But me and Frank were completely different. Frank Sumption. We were completely different, but Steve Halty did follow, because Frank was a mentor for a lot of us. And I'm dating myself, but we all started in Yahoo chat groups. I mean, we weren't even really doing anything on Facebook. It was chatting, and we all had these screen names, and it was
They were called handles, Jay. We called those handles back then.
Handles. So we started in Yahoo chat groups, and that's how we all connected back then. And now you fast forward, 10, 11, 12 years, and look where we're at now. And Steve Halty is still out there, and he's still building and going strong. And so there are several builders that are still around from back then. I'm still in contact with Rich Georgina, who was a great guy.
And let's point out, Jay, that was during dial-up. So if you didn't live through dial-up, you have no appreciation for technology.
Yes.
AOL. See, Brandy knows AOL.
Yep. AOL. I remember that. Wait for that. It sounded like this, like, oh God, obnoxious.
Well, this stuff wasn't mainstream back then. I mean,
no.
And then God forbid somebody picked the phone up to use it. Yeah. There goes AOL.
Hey, speaking of dating yourself, I had like one of the original Commodore 64s, right? Which was like one of the first freaking computers. I spent like 2 days typing in all these little squiggly characters and stuff to make this really bad, like 6-bit pixelation of a meteor go across the screen. This took me like 2 days of programming for this little crappy thing to shoot across the screen. So yeah, talk about dating yourself. So I get it, Jay. I'm with you.
Yeah. I had a Commodore back then. Yeah.
Yeah, then you got the 128, and you were shitting a high cotton. Then it was like, hey.
Well, you should have seen. Now this would have been back in 1990. The computers we had in the Marine Corps come in this green box, and you open this part up, and that was your screen, and then your keypad was here, and it was just a green, heavy duty wooden cardboard type box, and that was those computers back then. I mean, back in the 1990s, and of course there was the units I was with did crypto and stuff. So because I was with surveillance, reconnaissance, and intelligence groups.
Wait a minute, Jay. Wait a minute.
Oh, you got Tank antenna up. I saw it.
Did you say crypto?
Yes.
All right. Well, now we got to do another. We're gonna have to schedule another date because I need crypto on my show. I need crypto. I have a UFO guy.
Long ago. That was a great many years ago when I was first starting out in the electronics field, working with the units and our sister unit was the RPVs, remote piloted vehicles, for the bombing runs and all that stuff. But that's where I got my start, was electronics supporting Second Recon in the war.
Wow. I just wanted to, Brandy that's popped up there is a friend of mine. She's a very talented psychic medium herself. Her and I have taken some of Sky's classes together. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Brandy. She's also been a big supporter of the project so far. So Brandy, I just wanted to publicly thank you. Tori Starnes, one of our team members. One of our newest team members, actually.
Well, I will go back on, and because I went on the GoFundMe thing, and I remember I messaged you because I said, can you let me know if you get it? Because something went wrong with when I went to try to submit the payment. Because, I mean, right now that's what I can do. But if you guys ever need an extra body for anything, I am all about it.
You were always high on my list, Taryn, because I can't wait to work with you.
SRS is checking in.
And it's not me because I'm right here. So it's one of my other many, many talented folks. I am blessed to have a fantastic team.
Oh, you guys are great. Every single one of these are awesome. Now, I don't think I've met everybody on your team, but
we've expanded a little bit since we saw you.
Yeah, but you guys are awesome. So we're going to start with the Randolph County. But now, are you guys hoping to go to other locations?
I guess we'll see how this all works out. I mean, I would always be open to it. I'm sure it will be a great collab. I have no doubt. This is a unique group of people, and I truly think we are going to do something collectively that has never been done before. I know Jay and Justin have a lot of things in the works. My team and Sky, and we have some things in the work, both individually and independently and together. I would definitely be open to that if the opportunity was to arise. But the big thing is getting this one together and making paranormal history, because I know we're going to. I have no doubt. I'm excited about this.
Do you have a way to share the GoFundMe link in the comments?
Yeah,
or maybe you can message it to me so that I can put it.
I can try to do it. Hold on.
He's got like a
I think I can do it pretty quick here.
No, he looks, yeah.
And he is the most tech savvy of the bunch here, since he's the guy that builds the stuff. So there you go.
Yeah, let's do it. Waverly. Yeah.
But no, it's exciting to get to do something new, and I think for the viewers out there that are watching, I think this is an important thing for everybody in the paranormal. I'm talking about this project. I'm talking about the mindset of thinking outside the box. I think one of the biggest things in paranormal, and I'm not knocking paranormal for where it's at, but we've done the same things. Yes, we've done the same things for the last 20 years. It's time that we start pushing the envelope, getting on the edge of discovery, getting to that precipice and pushing past it. If we're going to, if there's any way that we're going to be able to get new advancements, if we don't think outside the box and we don't start doing some new things, we're going to be in the same spot we are today. And that's what I hope we can all change collectively as a community, is move forward with doing some things. And one other thing, Jay, if you've got just a second, I would like you to point out about your devices that I think you didn't mention, is just how that randomness is different with the frequencies, because I don't think people quite understand that. They think of it the same as just a hack shack that just scans through, where yours actually is random. And that wide range of frequencies, why that's so important when you talk about the 10 kilohertz steps versus the 200 kilohertz steps, because I think that's an important distinction in another way that your devices work.
All right, I'll try to do it as simple as I can. A normal radio like you get at Walmart is going to start around 85 megahertz, and it's going to go up to 108 or 108.5 megahertz. That is, you're listening to 95 rock all day, all night, whatever. So 95 rock is 95 megahertz. Your regular radios go from 85 to around 108. My regular tuner, I usually scan it down to around 80 megahertz and up to about 110 megahertz. Most radios scan in 200 kilohertz steps, and the reason they're 200 apart is so they don't bleed across each other. If they're too close on the radio band, you'll hear one radio station bleed over. So I do mine at 10 kilohertz steps. So where a normal radio would scan 200 something frequencies, my regular one scans a little over 2,000 frequencies. But a regular radio also either scans up and then back down, or it scans up and starts over again in a linear flat fashion. Mine is random. And I have a buffer that's random also, so it's always bouncing all over the dial. So my regular direct link, most of my devices are a little over 2,000 frequencies randomly scanning, and it's adjustable speed. So it's the slowest speed is 1.2 seconds. The fastest speed I normally do is around 40 milliseconds. You can't even hear 40 milliseconds. That is so fast. But you can record it and then play it back at slow speeds. And I do know some people that do that. They'll speed it all the way up, record it, and then go
Oh, why? What's the thought process behind that?
Huh?
Like what would be because in my opinion, I feel like, our frequencies with, and I believe in that there are, I believe that there are people human spirits. I believe in human spirits, if you will. Okay. But I do think and believe that they are, maybe they're on, it's a different plane. It's a different, and to me might be a little bit slower. Right. So for me, because when you're doing EVPs and you're asking questions, you ask a question, but you wait a little bit,
Yep.
because sometimes it takes longer for a response. So what would be the, I don't know what I'm looking for, but what would be the
rationale in speeding it up and going faster?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, it's for experimenting.
Okay.
You find what works best for you and what works best for whoever you're communicating with. A lot of times it's different speeds at different locations. But let me say this. I think that they can speak to you on any and all of those frequencies.
Sure.
And let me tell you why. I had a gentleman. He asked me to build him 2 devices. He wanted all 10,980 frequencies, but he wanted half in one box and half in the other. I put a buffer or a little bit of a gap between them. So these 2 devices are scanning different frequencies. One scanning 5,000 frequencies starting around 150 megahertz, and the other one is scanning 5,000 and something frequencies starting in the 90 megahertz up to 149 megahertz. He has them both running side by side, almost the same speed. A conversation starts in one and finishes in the other box. The same voice starts a sentence and finishes it. These boxes aren't even scanning the same frequencies. So at that point, I would say whatever communicated, it didn't care what the frequencies were. And the fact that if, let's say it's scanning 80 or 90 or 100 milliseconds, that's about a half of word. If this thing just scanned, let's say it just scanned 20 frequencies over here, 20 frequencies over here, but you got a sentence out of both boxes on 40 different frequencies, but it was the same voice. How do you explain that?
You can't.
You can't. It means that they use what they want to use. Mm-hmm. The speed didn't matter. The frequencies didn't matter. The frequencies didn't even match, and that didn't matter. They got their sentence out over 40 some odd different frequencies on 2 different boxes.
Yeah, and a simplistic way for I think somebody that maybe isn't into ITC, just in thinking about that, if I go buy a pack of 2A radios, walkie-talkies at Walmart, they're just a regular band radio, and then I take one of my radios I use at the fire department that is a digital encrypted 800 megahertz radio, it is not going to be able to transmit over to that walkie-talkie, and that little walkie-talkie from Walmart is not going to be able to transmit to this radio. So I could take this radio in the other room and talk all day. It's never going to come out of that other device. So what Jay is saying, to make that simpler, Jay, not to downgrade what you're saying, but just for simplicity's sake, that's like taking 2 totally different pieces of technology and getting the same thing. It'd be like that same scenario. I could take that encrypted digital radio and talk over that $80 pack of radios from Walmart. They should never work together. They're designed deliberately to never work together. In essence, Jay had two boxes with two totally separate sets of information in them as far as frequencies, and yet that transmission crossed both boxes. That alone, to me, validates that particular experiment, just in the fact that the differences between those two devices.
There's two different types of radio communication for spirit boxes. Well, there's a couple of different ones, but sometimes they use audio snippets. And your linear radios, you catch these audio snippets. And that's one theory. The other theory is the direct radio voice, where they speak directly out of the speaker. I believe that one was a direct radio voice because they couldn't have used audio snippets because it wasn't scanning the same audio radio frequencies of known radio stations in that area in order to get a complete sentence.
Right. The snippets would have had to been on both boxes, right?
Huh?
The snippets would have actually had to been existing on both boxes for that to work.
Exactly. So if those were not radio snippets, those would have been direct radio voices. Direct radio voices on my direct links, especially, the first time I realized that I was catching direct radio voices and it was very clear, and it's not just the direct link FXWC. I think it could happen with any of them, but it was really clear. Billy was from Ghost Adventures, was down in that basement of that asylum, wherever it was out west. And this woman was speaking to him through the direct link down in that basement on whatever episode that was. I think it was a tuberculosis. It was at that tuberculosis hospital. And a man's voice was coming through as well. The thing is the man's voice had an echo in it, which makes sense because the direct link has an echo board. It has an echo reverb board. But the woman's voice did not have an echo in it. There was no echo and reverb in her voice. So I believe the man's voice was audio snippets, because those would have came from the tuner through the echo board and out the speaker and have echo and reverb. Her voice had no echo and reverb. She was speaking either through the amplifier or directly through the speaker itself. And that's what I call a direct radio voice. She completely bypassed the tuner and the echo board. It's the only way her voice would not have had echo and reverb in it. You can watch the episode and you'll see it.
Yeah.
And we've actually already experienced that using that same device. We have used that device, and it might actually, I'm not sure if that part of the clip is in the trailer that we did, but there is one voice that comes through that has no echo and reverb, and then the next voice that comes through clearly has that reverb feature. So we've already experienced that phenomena where we're getting, it should have echo and reverb if it's coming from the radio snippets, but it doesn't. And I think it is on the actual trailer, because a lot of the trailer is Jay's devices.
I believe that's a direct radio voice. And so when you hear that, you could classify it now. You could classify it as a direct radio voice because there's no microphone in the now all of this technically falls under EVP, electronic voice phenomena.
But you can tell a difference.
Falls under EVPs.
Yeah. But you can tell a difference. Like when I'm listening to my recorders, or especially when I'm hearing it with my ear and I know, but you just have to validate it for yourself. So you have to ask everybody, did you just hear that? Did you just say that? Did you hear it? Did you say it? Did you hear it? Did you say it? You have to ask everybody. Yeah. But there's a difference. And that's what I was going to say to you. When you're listening to this stuff, there is a difference in a human voice than a spirit voice. It's just, there's a difference. And when you do what we do, you get to learn that, that. When you hear something, obviously you're going to have things where you're not sure. So you throw it out, you know what I mean? But for the most part, what you just said, you can tell the difference in that man's voice and the woman's voice. That there's a difference there. And if it was coming from the same, you know what I'm saying? If it was coming from the same thing, it would sound the same.
But I think the bigger point to that is they're able to, in my experience, using Jay's device and other spirit boxes, you always have to watch out with any device for matrixing and pareidolia. That's being a good researcher. That's being somebody that does due diligence.
Yeah.
That is not the same thing as saying that you can't say, well, all spirit box communication is garbage or all spirit box communication is the Holy Grail. You can't do that. Just like you can't say the EVP is just the Holy Grail, because you have to do due diligence to validate whatever it is. I don't care what device you're using or how you're getting it, in my opinion, as a researcher.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I do. My EVPs, I'm like, I know I didn't hear that shit. That's all.
Right.
But
But that's your validation, because you know that you do that due diligence, because I know you, and I know you as an investigator. If you thought for a second that was Charlie in the next room that said something, you're throwing it out. You're not counting. Okay. So that's due diligence. But what I think the bigger point about what Jay is saying, that scenario, and what we've seen also using his device, just because it has echo or doesn't have echo isn't the deciding factor that it's, in my opinion, communication. Is it relevant into the context of what you asked? Is it more than a single word answer in some cases? Is it over the same voice over and over and over and over, even at different locations, which we have also experienced, okay, that are 70, 80 miles apart? That's a big difference.
So that's interesting.
Okay.
Why would that be?
We'll come back to that, my experience with that in just a second. But my point is, so I think that whatever we're communicating with can use, like Jay said, I totally agree with what Jay said on this. They can use whatever they want to communicate with us. If they want to use the snippets, they use them. If they're talking through the white noise, they do. If they're using the speaker, they're doing that. That's how all those things work. So to your point, one of the phenomenon that we've experienced, and again, my team is slightly different. We do a lot of Victorian era stuff. We have a lot of, the psychic medium side. We all have some sensitivity or ability to some degree. So we function a little bit different. We kind of blend these skill sets, right? So sometimes we communicate with our guides. Our guides talk even through these devices. And we know it is because it's mediums have verified it, or we've had that experiences. We've documented this. It's been in live investigations at Publix in front of 20, 30 people. We've had it happen. So had the same voice come through at the Tipton Haynes, 65 miles north of that, well, I guess it's about 60 miles north of that, is our home haunt, the Nickerson Sneed. The same voice came through again and identified themselves again as a guide that we are used to talking to on the other side. So
it's somebody with you. So
yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
Not you personally, but somebody.
That is not the radio snippets, because we don't get the same radio stations 60 miles away.
Right.
So that definitely cannot be coming from radio snippets.
Right.
Now, a good software to use when you're getting the same voices in multiple locations, it's called Pratt, P-R-A-A-T software. Take those voices you're getting them, upload them into Pratt, and start comparing them against each other. Pratt is free. It's another one of those free softwares.
Fantastic.
But it's really great for comparing voices. I've always felt that if I had a voice of someone when they were living, and you provided me that, and then you thought you heard them on a spirit box, my theory was, what would happen if you put those both into Pratt?
Would they match?
Recording from when they were alive, and see if you could match those voices up. Now, theoretically, it shouldn't work at all because they don't have a voice box.
I was just thinking that.
Our voice, our larynx. This is what makes my voice sound high and I sound like a hillbilly and all this. It's how I'm made. So you would think that after death I wouldn't sound that way anymore because I don't have all this physical stuff. But yet,
I don't know, but you do have
do.
people that claim. You do have people that claim that. Oh, I heard my father, or I heard my mother.
I've experienced it. I've experienced it on your device, Jay. My aunt, that was documented on that public investigation.
And again, is that just a way for her to say, this is me? Are you hearing it in that way? Because
sure, and that's because psychically, Sky was there. She's sensing her, telling me she's there. Her voice comes across the box. I'm thinking maybe I'm just reading too much into that and wanting it to be that. So I don't tell my mother any of this, right? I don't
Right.
tell her the whole context. I simply play her the response, not the question, not the front part, not me saying, Aunt Fran, is this you? I just play the response. And she starts breaking down in tears.
Wow.
That's your Aunt Fran. That is her sister. That is
That's
her
awesome.
voice.
That's
So
awesome.
now, but that leads, so the researcher in me, right? So that leads to the next thing. The other thing, the other phenomena that anybody that has been in the paranormal any length of time and has spent countless hours investigating, I've got hundreds of investigations under my belt. And I can say that I've also experienced where something, whether it's human spirits, unknown entities, whatever you want to call them, will sometimes mimic the voice patterns of other people. And that is sometimes something when we encounter non-humans, and I've experienced them do the same thing. So you have to question that. But then you look at how you felt, the emotional impact, the other environmental factors, and you have to make a decision. So to Jay's point, that software is very fast. I've never heard of that, Jay, and I'm definitely going to look into that because I would love to do that. Take a living sample of her voice if I can find something. I don't know if we have anything on an old VHS tape or not, but I would love to try that to try to validate that.
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic to be able to show that.
Think of it this way. What you're actually hearing right now is energy.
Right.
Energy is what's throwing my voice out there. Now, in your particular instance, you're not sitting in this room with me, but photons, hear me out, are carrying that information through the internet and coming out your speakers. That information is carried on photons. Your cell phone works because of photons. Your home phone, your radio, everything works because of photons. If they can mimic a photon, they can mimic a voice. It's just energy. It's just energy. A bird can mimic.
Mockingbirds. Yeah, exactly.
Mockingbirds can mimic.
Great point. Great point.
You can have computers that can mimic a voice as well.
Right.
So if you have the right software, you could mimic another human's voice and mimic it. So once again, it goes back to photons, and energy. But why can't they mimic it, or why can't they mimic their own voice? Maybe something else, like you were saying, mimics them, but sometimes they're actually just mimicking, using the same energy and frequencies to produce the voice that they would have had so that you can understand them. Because, I mean, right now we're just trying to get a grasp of what's happening on the other side. So one theory is as good as any other one.
Absolutely.
That's just one of my theories.
Well, this is the thing. I'm going to tell you guys right now. So if I die before you guys.
Okay.
Right?
Are we making a pact here? Is this one of those pact moments?
We're making a pact. We're making a pact. So if I die before you guys, right? And you guys are still doing this, just go to the Eisenhower farmhouse in Gettysburg, because that's where I'll be.
Okay.
And I promise you, I will give you your groundbreaking evidence.
Okay.
Just come say hi.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Here's what I want you to say to me.
Yeah.
JW, kiss my photons. And I
will say that.
Oh, that's perfect. Yep.
And I'll know it's you.
All right.
And if I go first, I will go to the Eisenhower farmhouse because I know you'll be there. So I'll be able to go wherever I want. So I'll go there and say hey, because you'll be there anyway.
Exactly. And then we'll both say JW, kiss our photons.
Exactly. So everybody heard it here first tonight. We know the official, what's going to be the actual documented first communication if any of us go to the other side.
Exactly.
I can see a T-shirt or a bumper sticker in the future. JW, kiss my photons. That is happening. We're going to make that happen.
There we go.
You have to do it. You have to do it. All right. Well, we literally have been on for an hour and 45 minutes. I could continue to talk to you guys. I promise you. We have to do it again. I want to do it. So when do we do it? You said March, right?
Yeah, we're actually be there the first part of March. So I would say once we get everything filmed, it will take us a few weeks to go through everything. And then, of course, get it edited up. We're going to shoot for, I would think, hopefully sometime the end of April for it to be ready to go at the latest. So
keep me posted. send me links so I can share on the Brews
Will
page.
do.
I wanna share the GoFundMe, and I will go back on and re-enter my donation to this
Thank you.
project because I don't know why it didn't go through, but I will do it. If you
And
ever
please,
need,
anybody that wants to give even your loose change in your cup holder, we'll take it. And I'm shamelessly begging again.
oh, listen, this is amazing, and it's such a great. It's gotta go somewhere. I mean, I hope to God that you guys get the funds that you need, and I really hope that this does
We're going to do
go.
it even if we shoot
We're
it
going to do it
ourselves.
no
It's going to
matter what.
happen. Yeah,
You
it's
have
going to
to.
happen.
I mean, this is definitely so much needed. I mean, we're like you said earlier. I mean, we're stagnant in the field. You know what I mean? There isn't anything new coming out. So this is so needed, especially COVID and everything getting canceled and nobody being able to do things they're going to be doing. You know, now it's like, okay, here's a new year. Things are opening up. Events are going to be happening. You know, what better time to come out and say, you know, and before everything starts happening, which is great. You come out with this whole new concept of investigating, and it's amazing.
Well, and
So,
thank you for having us. And it
oh
was
my God, thanks
fun
for coming on.
to be able to go this deep into our. You were the first show that we've gone this deep into even
Yeah.
revealing the depth of it. I mean, Jay and I did a show not too long ago. We talked a little bit about stuff, but you were the first show that we got this deep into what we're trying to do.
Well,
And
thank you.
if anybody's interested in how the system works, they can come over to my Facebook page, and I'll share again. But I have a Facebook group also called IDC Devices Information, and that breaks down all of my equipment is broke down into videos. So people that are interested in what I'm doing and they're inclined to look at it, it's all right there and it's in order. So IDC
Awesome.
Devices Information is the group. You can join the group and check out all my stuff, and I hope you get excited about it the way I do.
And also, don't forget to visit his website, www.idcdevices.com.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, visit our website,
Thank
www.srsparanormal.com.
you.
If you click on the field of fears, you can read all about our bios and more details about the project, in addition to what's also on the GoFundMe link. So I wanted to do my little radio announcer plugs there for all of our
Yeah,
stuff.
please.
But make sure you go over and give Jay some love. I will also tell you guys this. Before Jay builds you a device, he has to talk to you. And he does have a build season because he's a busy man. So I just wanted to point that out, Jay, that they talk to you first before. You just don't mass produce these things. And that's why they're so special.
Yeah. Nothing's
That's
mass
awesome.
produced. I build everything one at a time.
That's awesome. And I think it's great what you're doing. So thank you so much because,
Thank
you
you
know,
for having me. I appreciate coming on and being able to talk to you guys.
anytime. You guys can come on anytime. Matt knows that. I mean, like sometimes I'll have shows and he just pops in and he'll just hang out with me.
Yep,
So,
she's pulled me on the screen before, so and she's been on our show a bunch. Taryn, love you to pieces. You're
love you
awesome.
guys. Thank you so
Cannot wait
much.
to see you in the near future and get together with you.
Absolutely. Thank
Everybody,
you for
thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having us.
guys. Good
All right,
night.
see you later. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Good night, guys.